up, friends? You got Gypsy back here today, bringing you my team builder for the semi-finals match of the NPL Season 5. We are going up against Togevoir and his Arizona Carvanhas. I'm recording this a few hours before the match takes place, so it's taking place tonight. And I figured I'd get the team builder up beforehand and give you guys a quick insight into, or more of an in-depth insight, I guess you could say, into what I'm bringing for my match. I will be doing this for playoffs, because it is hype. It's playoffs, it's exciting, and I feel as though the sets are more important in these crucial must-win matches. So as you guys can see, we've got Toge's team to the right here. Toge is actually in my division, for anyone who's not aware, so we've already played twice this season. This really makes building for a semi-finals match quite different, quite tricky, in the sense that, depending on how our matches have gone in the past, like either of us will have revealed certain things, meaning that it is harder to bring certain sets to the match if we expect our opponent to, if I expect him to counter prep me based on what I brought last time, for example. So keeping that in mind, I didn't change my whole team completely from the last time I played him. So I played him in week 10, I believe. And some of the sets are the same, some of the sets are just a little bit adjusted to fit kind of a potential matchup that I think he may bring. But I do have a similar kind of build in mind. So kicking things off, we have Mega Pinsir, the star of the team, next to Weavile. This Mega Pinsir set is built to outspeed a max speed Garchomp after I'm Mega Evolved. I don't think he will run max speed Garchomp, but he may. You never know. It's not worth not taking the risk. I feel as though he'll at least run enough speed to outspeed my base 100s in the form of Mew and Zapdos. And for some reason I ran like a max speed variant, so to counteract that, I do have to run Jolly, so I can at least outspeed his Garchomp if it is max. I've got the remaining EVs in health, and obviously max attack. So the idea behind this Pinsir set is I can sub up on predicted switch outs. Say he's in an unfavorable situation with Pinsir. For instance, he's got something like Gorgeist or Shedinja in, or even Blaziken in versus the Pinsir. He may actually switch out to something like a defensive Togekiss, defensive Jirachi, defensive Blastoise, something like that. He doesn't really have good checks to Pinsir on his team. He doesn't really have good answers to it, as many teams don't. But the idea behind this is if I can capitalize on a switch out and get a sub up, then it really eases mind games with Pinsir. It means that, like, if he switches out to his Blastoise, like a defensive Blastoise who could potentially take 2 returns depending on rolls with lefty's recovery, that just really eliminates that out of the equation, because I can proceed to 2 KO on the return. If for some reason it's a 3 KO, then like if I get like min rolls every single time, then like an Ice Beam can't kill me from 75%. Pinsir Spit F is actually really good at 90. It's really solid. That's like, compared to its base 120 defense, it's not quite as good, but it's still pretty solid. Meaning I can take at least 1 Ice Beam from a Blastoise, if that is the case. We got knockoff for stuff like the Rotom. It OHKOs the Rotom if he's like a non-Colbur variant, or the return plus quick attack, essentially kill it too if it's offensive. But a knockoff is just nice for stuff like Jirachi. Also knocks off, just nice to knock off switch-ins as well. Knocks off the Eviolite from Porygon 2, which is a big threat, a big fat threat, which while it has its Eviolite, it's a lot harder to take down. So once I knock off its Eviolite with either Weavile or Pinsir, their corresponding stabs will be able to really wear down the Porygon in conjunction with hazard support on my team. So that is Pinsir's role. It's a really nice revenge killer for stuff like Blaziken, even Hooper, even if it's like a Trick Room Hooper set, which he very well could bring versus my team. Having that really nice powerful priority and quick attack is going to be really important in this match. Obviously also outspeeding stuff like Scarf Blaziken with quick attack, killing it after some prior damage. So that's Pinsir. You guys know what it does by now. Next up we have Weavile. Weavile is I'm bringing a Choice Band Weavile this week, Adamant Nature. This spread can actually OHKO, Yachi Berry, Garchomp with max HP through the Yachi Berry. So that's pretty huge. I don't think he will lead with Garchomp. I don't think he's led with Garchomp the past 2 matches. I think he will mix it up this game. I don't think he's going to bring a defensive Garchomp. I think he's more likely to bring an offensive variant, which means that barring a Scarf variant, this Weavile can actually kill it, even if he's like offensive Yachi. But of course he could be like a Focus Sash variant, which could be big, which is why I'm actually not going to lead with Weavile. I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I don't plan on leading with Weavile. I don't think it's worth it, because Weavile is such a big threat to his team. It's not worth risking him being a Sash variant of Garchomp. But you know, it'll depend on whether he actually brings it to the game. That'll be something that that I talk about when we actually get to that point. But yeah, this Weavile set is insane. It can 2-hit KO Blastoise with knockoff. 2-hit KOs on the switch in. With knockoff, Icicle Crash has a chance to 2-hit KO Blaziken. It's just ridiculous how strong this thing is with Choice Band. Obviously Pursuit is for stuff like Jirachi that wants to switch out, doesn't want to take a knockoff. Ice Shard does huge damage to Pidgeot. You'll notice I am running Adamant, and you may question that. Well, while he has a Mega Pidgeot, and this spread is actually outsped by Timid Pidgeot, I don't expect him to run Timid Pidgeot, and even if he does, I don't expect him to be creeping Adamant Weavile. I expect him to be creeping, if anything, maybe if he is running Timid, it'll be creeping my Pinsir, and the rest in bulk, for example. I don't expect him to be creeping 350 speed Timid. It's just like, it doesn't really do anything on my team. Like, he's either going to be creeping this, or he'll be creeping my Whimsicott, my base 116 Whimsicott. But again, like, I don't think he's going to creep that. I feel as though, if anything, he's going to just creep my base 105 Pinsir and then put the rest in bulk. Being able to live a T-Bolt from Zapdos is quite nice. On his Pidgeot, so yeah, I feel as though that will be the case, and the majority of the time I'll be clicking Ice Shard versus the Pidgeot anyway, not wanting to risk the Crash Miss. So that's Weavile. Weavile's going to put in a lot of work, hopefully, with his Choice Band. He doesn't really have solid answers to it. Once I get Hazards up, then his defensive switch in like defensive Blaziken is no longer a defensive check, with toxic damage and Stealth Rock up. So that's something I really am going to try and capitalize on with Weavile. So next one up we have Zapdos. A pretty interesting spread. Enough speed to outspeed his base 80s, which is key because he has stuff like Togekiss, which, unless it's a Scarf variant, won't be able to outspeed my Zapdos, meaning that it can't flinch me down. Because it is like a semi-finals match, Togevoir hasn't brought, he hasn't really like relied on hacks to win this season. He's won due to his building and his playing ability. So he hasn't really relied on hacks, but because like this is the semi-finals, I can't not prepare for the potential for him to run like a Haxy build, a Hax abusing build with Jirachi and Togekiss. Hence why I'm running Static on the Zapdos. Static on with Zapdos at least punishes the Jirachi. While not Rocky Helmet, it does punish a physically offensive Jirachi who wants to spam Iron Head, because I will eventually get the Static Para, rendering it pretty useless. Guaranteeing it's outspeed by Weavile if it is, like, for example, a Scarf Jirachi. So that's the idea behind Zapdos' static ability. Whilst it would have been nice to have static, to have like defog on Zapdos, that role can be filled by Mew this match. So yeah, so that's the idea for the speed. The speed also allows me to outspeed max speed Hooper, as well as outspeeding max speed Blaziken, barring any Scarfs on either of those two. So this defensive spread allows me to guarantee live a Hyperspace Fury from an offensive, from like a physical Hooper after rocks. It allows me to live I believe I can live a Hyper Beam from a modest Pidgeot. I believe that's what it was, and Blaziken can't kill me with a Flare Blitz if he is adamant with Life Orb. So this Zapdos is a pretty defensive spread. I can roost up on quite a lot. I got lefties for passive recovery each turn. It's a pretty bulky spread, but quite fast too. So I can also gain, like say he's like a fast Jirachi, just having U-turn will allow me to, get a slow U-turn off into something like Weavile or Pinsir, who can take advantage of the Rachi. If he's like a slow Rachi, then I can, switch out accordingly into something potentially like Alamomola, or even my Mew, which takes on Rachi quite nicely, assuming that it is a slower Rachi. So next up we have Alamomola. Alamomola is is essentially here to it's essentially here to check a Blaziken that might be like an offensive variant, because he hasn't brought, well, he brought Weakness Policy Blaziken last time, which potentially could have been an offensive variant. He didn't. I didn't ask him what it was, but offensive Blaziken isn't bad versus me. You know, having a switch into Banded Flare Blitz is nice because, you know, Bandit could really punch holes through my defensive core if I predict wrong. Like if Bandit High Jump Kick does a lot of damage to LML, especially with this spread. So I'm Spidef. I'm pretty Spidef. This spread is, I don't really like this spread at all, but it allows me to tank Hurricanes from Pidgeot. It allows me to tank Volt Switches and Discharges from the Rotom. Even if he's like an offensive variant, I can knock off a potential item on a Jirachi switch in, or even a Rotom or a Hoopa switch in. You know, knocking off their choice items could be really big. You know, and knocking off Blastoise's leftovers could be really nice as well. Waterfall just allows me to hit Hoopa. It allows me to hit Blaziken for more. You know, knock off again for Porygon 2 is very nice. Not too much to say about Alamomola. If I can get a Healing Wish off, like say for instance something like one of my win cons like Weavile or Zapdos, or even Pinsir gets, you know, severely weakened or you know, paralyzed or burnt or something during the match, Healing Wish just gives me that second chance, which could definitely come in clutch. I know he's probably going to target my Zapdos with poisons, because Zapdos is such a good switch into Jirachi and Togekiss. I am expecting like a Toxics flying everywhere, and you know, having the Healing Wish in the back could prove crucial late game if my Zapdos is really pressured and it's needed to take on those particular mons. Next up we have Muse, actually the same set I brought last game, but I didn't reveal my whole set. Ice Beam with this defensive investment lets me 1v1 any variant of Garchomp. If he's, I'm most likely expecting like an offensive Stealth Rocking variant. With this spread, I'll be able to tank Dragon Claws and EQs, Ice Beam him down to the point where he either needs to switch out and let me defog the rocks away, because like I want rocks up, I want rocks and T-Spikes up, but I don't want him to have them on my side of the field. So if I can force him to, you know, switch out after taking an Ice Beam, even popping his Yachi Berry, which could be crucial for Weavile late game, I can defog and maintain momentum with U-turn. Earthquake again hits the Jirachi for a pretty good amount of damage. It also hits the Blaziken for a solid amount, putting him in guaranteed range of quick attack from Mega Pinsir. I am carrying a minus special attack nature. That's not a mistake. I don't need, even if I wasn't minus special attack, Ice Beam wouldn't kill Garchomp uninvested, so it's still a 2-hit KO. And if he is a Yachi variant, like an offensive Yachi variant, it's still a 2-hit KO. So that's pretty nice. Unless he's like a really bulky like Spidef spread, then I won't 2-hit KO. But if that's the case, then I'll be chewing hits from him a lot easier. This Mew set really appreciates Wish support from Alamomola, so passing Wishes off into this pretty defensive Mew is going to be really nice. You know, just it's a nice pivot with U-turn. I can switch into it like a Carmine Rachi, which is what he brought last game. You know, is a big threat to my team. I can't lie. Carmine Jirachi is a bit of an issue if it gets behind a sub, because you know, then Weavile has to, or Pinsir have to actually break the sub before they can knock it out. So having EQ on this set, and the fact that just purely by virtue of my typing, Carmine Rachi can't do a whole lot to me unless he's packing Shadow Ball, in which case he's missing out on coverage versus another one on my team. So yeah, just having EQ to break subs and U-turn out, get the slow U-turn out, which is pretty crucial. If he's sub Carmine Rachi, I'm expecting him to be a faster variant, so if he's not, then EQ will be able to whittle him down faster than he can take me out, and if that's the case, I can just grab U-turn momentum out if he wants to preserve his Rachi. So the last mon on the team, perhaps the most interesting mon on this squad this week, is Nidoking. This is actually a specially defensive Nidoking, primarily here to take to capitalize on a trick Rotom. So last game we played, Rotom was a bit of an issue to my team. You know, eventually tricking Zapdos, the Choice Scarf, rendering it a lot more useless in the matchup. Rotom is a pain to my team for sure. You know, if Weavile obviously OHKOs it. Weavile OHKOs it with knockoff through the Colbur, even if he's max health. Like, that's just how strong Weavile is. Like, Rotom is frail. But Rotom could potentially be a screens variant. He brought that last game. He brought a really awesome Scarf Trick screens variant of Rotom, which was a very nice innovation on his part. But the key with this Nidoking set is, with my special defense investment, I chew Shadow Balls and Hexes from the Rotom. If he wants to trick, then he's going to be punished by taking the Black Sludge residual damage, whilst it heals me due to my poison typing. It'll be wearing him down because he's a ghost type. That's how the mechanics of Black Sludge work. So if he tricks me his Scarf, then I'll be a Scarf Nidoking with Sheer Force. Although I'm not invested in special attack, Sludge Wave still hits strong. Shadow Ball is a 2-hit KO on Rotom. It's a 3-hit KO on Rachi because I'm not invested, but it's still decent damage. Sludge Wave does upwards of 40% to Mega Pidgeot, even if it does have a little bit of bulk due to Sheer Force. And the Sludge Wave still obviously is doing a ton to Togekiss, even if it is like a bulky variant. So Nidoking could come clutch, very clutch this match. I'm hoping anyway. It's performed well in mock battles. T-Spikes is going to be nice to, again, wear down the switch-ins to Weavile, wear down the switch-ins to Pinsir. You know, really cause his defensive mons like Porygon 2 to have a far harder time, you know, checking the mons they need to check on my team. Stealth Rock obviously is very nice for stuff like Togekiss, if he does bring it. It's nice for Hooper, putting it in range of, you know, double priority from my team. It's nice for Pidgeot, you know, forcing it to take the 25 if he does decide to bring it. It also puts, you know, with either Stealth Rocks up or T-Spikes up, Blastoise is 100% in guaranteed range to die to 2 knockoffs from Weavile, 2 returns from my Pinsir. It's 2-hit KO'd by Thunderbolt unless he's like an Assault Vest spread. But I think with Stealth Rock and T-Spikes that is still 2-hit KO because Zapdos is not weak. So the and also like Wish Passing with Alamomola, if I can, you know, pass wishes to my Fatamons, my team is far more offensive this week than it was in my first game versus Toge. So T-Spikes will be very nice support for my offensive mons. So that's the team, guys. I'm pretty hyped for the match. It's going to be happening over the next 4 or 5 hours. And if you guys are, you know, if you guys are excited, I really would appreciate it if you click the like button, and, you know, let me know what you guys think of the team. I'm gonna put this all into one video, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will be back in the future with the match. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Alright friends, we are back with the semi-finals of the NPL up against Togevoir. As you guys can see, he has brought the Hooper, so that is a big threat on deck. He's got the Rotom, he's got probably Rocks Chomp, Fat Porygon. Now I see Togekiss and I see Jirachi. They could be a number of things. Jirachi could be a trick variant. Togekiss could really be anything. I'm not really sure what to expect on this matchup. Like I mentioned in the team builder, Weavile has a fantastic matchup. Look, this thing dies, Icicle Crash, knockoff, Icicle Crash, knockoff, gets weakened, knockoff. Like, Weavile has so much fun versus his team. I'm not going to lead with it though, because it is pretty predictable for me to lead with Weavile. I am just going to lead with Mew, because I do expect him to potentially lead with an offensive Garchomp, so we jump straight into it. We lead off with Mew as he leads off with his Rotom here, so Adamant Banded Weavile would actually kill, even if this was a Colbur variant of Rotom, so that made me think that he might be like a Sash variant or even like a really bulky set, but because like a Colbur variant of Rotom could live a Sash Weavile's knockoff, absolutely, but it can't live Adamant Banded, that's for sure. So yeah, leading with Weavile would have been pretty nice in that regard, but at least this way he doesn't get rocks up immediately. I'm just going to switch right out into my check, which is Nidoking. So he fires off a Shadow Ball, and you guys are going to see we eat this up, does 30%, except it gets the Spit F drop. Now this Spit F drop is it's unfortunate to say the least. He said did 30%. Had he not got the Spit F drop, then Nidoking would have been able to get at least rocks plus T-Spikes up, which you guys are going to see is going to really come into play later on. So I just take this opportunity to get up my T-Spikes. As he goes for a second Shadow Ball, it does 42%, so really punished by that speed F drop there. The fact that he's faster than me reveals that he does have speed investment, confirming the fact that Weavile would have guaranteed killed it with knockoff had I led with it. But I'm just going to switch out now, go into my Element Molar. As I know I am speed F, I can eat up anything from this Rotom, even a Volt Switch or a T-Volt. He goes for Shadow Ball and gets another speed F drop. So this is unfortunate. If for some reason like he has Thunderbolt and he crits me here, Element Molar will go down. But I was willing to bank on the fact that I wouldn't get crit and that he wouldn't have T-Volt. Actually, I thought if anything he'd have like Discharge or maybe even Volt Switch would make a lot of sense. So I just go for the knockoff here as he goes for the Shadow Ball once more and gets a third speed F drop. So yeah, looking pretty off to a pretty rough start with these drops. But obviously it's out of his control. You know, he's not like doing it, it's just the game. So I'd go for the knockoff there. He knocks off like Alamamola's knockoff. Alamamola, like this weak fish, did 25% with knockoff. Like Adamant Band, Stab, knockoff from Weavile's enormous base attack, like guaranteed would have killed Rotom. So yeah, interesting. I'm just going to switch right out here now. Not going to take a Volt Switch. Going to go into my Zapdos as he fires off a Willow here, makes a good play predicting the switch out. I wasn't going to stay in with Alamamola there, so now my Zapdos is crippled with a burn, so that is pretty crucial. That means he's going to have a harder time checking the Rotom and the Togekiss. However, I do have Healing Wish on my Alamamola. You know, had I not got the Speed F drop in the first place, it would have been okay in this situation, because at least I would have had 2 layers of hazards up, and even though my Zapdos was burnt, that would have, in my opinion, been a fair trade. As I would have got crucial damage on anything switching in, as well as rocks damage on the Togekiss. You guys are going to see now, he goes for the Shadow Ball here, as I fire off my own Shadow Ball, just wanting to weaken this Rotom, putting it in range to go down to a quick attack from Pinsir, if it comes down to that. As now I'm just going to go back out to my Alamamola, as he's just going to opt to go for the Volt Switch here, switching right out into his Togekiss. Now, had I got my Stealth Rocks up earlier on in the game, which I would have gone had I not got the Speed F drop on my Nidoking, Togekiss would have been at 75%. I just want you guys to remember that watching the match. He would have been at 75%. So the next turn he's actually going to go for the Defog as I switch out to my Zapdos. So good playing spot, gets rid of my T-Spikes, meaning that his other Mons aren't going to be poisoned, so very nice for Toge. I'm just going to go for the HP Ice here. While it kills Rotom, it also popped a potential Yachi Berry on Garchomp. If he was like an offensive without Yachi, it would have done over 50%, putting it in range to die to Pinsir. He goes into his Jirachi here. Now this screamed to me that he was a trick variant. You know, because like Jirachi is not a counter to Zapdos. If he's a Carmine variant, you know, that could have been a threat too, but I stand by my play. I'm just going to switch out here, going into my Pinsir, predicting his trick, as I go for the U-turn here, into my Pinsir, and he does fire off a trick. Now, the fact that he went for trick here makes me, like, confirms the fact that he's, like, choiced. I figured as though he wouldn't be choice Scarf, because choice Scarf is bad versus, like, Choice Scarf is bad versus Zapdos. Choice Scarf, like, it's good for versus stuff like Weavile, but I felt as though Ban was better, because Ban really neuters. Like, a Scarf Zapdos is way too good versus his team. He actually spoke to me about this after the match. Scarf Zapdos revenges a potential Scarf Togekiss. It revenges a Garchomp. It revenges Hooper. It's not good for his team to have me scarfed. It's better off for me to be locked into a choice band, as he actually reveals that's actually what he is a choice banded Jirachi, as we're going to see later on in the match. So we get that right, as in comes Pinsir. Now I'm just going to fire for a return, as this return is going to do a lot to this Garchomp, revealing that it is an offensive spread. Quick Attack was a roll to kill here. I only needed like a mid roll, but you know, we've been really unlucky this game with the roll, with the 3 Speed F drops. I didn't want to risk like missing out on this roll and losing such a crucial member to my team. So I'm just going to switch out to my Mew, as I can defog rocks if he did want to stay in and set those up. So he just goes for the Stealth, that's the Stone Edge, which does nothing to my Mew, and I can just switch. I can just stay in here and go for the EQ. Even if he wanted to trick me here, his choice band, I knew he wasn't Scarf because I outsped with my Zapdos, and he went for trick. So even if he wanted to trick me his specs or his band, I got crucial damage off on this Jirachi, which put it in range to die to knock off from my Pinsir, or guaranteed knockoff from Weavile, as well as Shadow Ball from my Nidoking. So after 2 EQs, he would have been in range to die to Nidoking Shadow Ball. So even if Mew had got tricked here, it wasn't the end of the world. I was willing to make that trade. So he's just going to fire for Toxic. And that's fine. I don't really need Mew to stick around for too long. Anyway, if I do decide I want it, I can just Healing Wish up with Alomomola. I know now he's not going to stay in here and just fire for another Toxic, because I can easily just EQ and whittle him down further. This is looking like his way to check Weavile late game with Ice Shard. Ice Shard spam is looking really nice versus the Togekiss. If he is a Scarf variant, so keeping his Jirachi healthy is pretty important for Togevoir. So I'm just going to go for the U-turn here, predicting his switch out. So he goes into his Porygon 2. And now this thing it's really bulky, as Weavile is just going to knock off his Violite as he fires off a Tri-Attack. The Tri-Attack does a decent amount, but we don't suffer any secondary effects, which is very nice. I'm just going to spam knock off for a few turns because I wanted to see if he wanted to get aggressive there and click Tri-Attack one more time, in which case Weavile would have been able to nab the kill on Porygon 2 right here. He reveals the sub as I'm just spamming knockoff for a while. I believe now I switch out and I go into my Nidoking, expecting him to recover up once more. And this gives me an opportunity to either get off my Stealth Rocks or get up my T-Spikes, as I feel as though he's likely going to take me out here. Like, he has no reason to let me get my hazards up for free, so I'm just going to click Stealth Rocks, T-Spikes, as getting this thing poisoned, getting Hoopa and Garchomp poisoned is very important. If I get Hoopa poisoned, if it's like a bulky Trick Room variant, then having it taking the poison damage each turn means that Pinsir and Weavile's priority has a far easier time taking him out. If he's like a bulky variant with leftovers, then like their priority may not be enough to take him out. As crazy as that sounds, if he's like a bulk invested Hoopa, I really felt as though T-Spikes overall were the best play right there. Although Stealth Rock damage would have been really nice on this Togekiss, but we would have got those up earlier on in the game had we not got the Shadow Ball drops. But nonetheless, I am going to go out to my Pinsir, who can comfortably 2 KO this Porygon now with Return. We get a crit here, does 91%, revealing that it would have done about 60 something, about around 60% without the crit, and it would have 2 KO'd regardless. So the crit, unless you wanted to preserve his Porygon 2, which wouldn't have made much sense because it would have come back in at like 40% without its Violite. Not a very good play to preserve it, in my opinion. And what would he have switched out to? Nothing. Everything dies to 2 returns. So he was going to sack it off anyway. So 2 returns, we're going to take it out regardless. As in comes the Togekiss, and I'm going to switch out because I know Return can't kill from that range, as he fires off an Air Slash. And now I'm thinking to myself, I can just roost up here. If he wants to defog, I'm fine with that. I can then U-turn out the next turn and capitalize on his like Garchomp switch in. But he just goes for the Air Slash and he outspeeds me. And it's at this point I flinch, and it's at this point I realize that he's actually scuffed Togekiss with defog and Air Slash. Now, this is... I don't blame Toge at all for using this. Like, it's, Togekiss is a really good mon because of its Serene Grace, because of its bulk, because of its really good special attack. I can understand, he wants to win the game. This is a viable way of winning. You can argue it's annoying or whatever, but it's a good way of winning. So it's just very difficult for me to take on now that my Zapdos is burnt. However, I do have Healing Wish on my Alomomola, so if I'm in a situation where I can Healing Wish up, I can 1v1 this Togekiss, as eventually I will break through. I can pivot between Zapdos and Alomomola. I have Ice Shard and Quick Attack on these two, so eventually I will be able to beat this if I can Healing Wish up, but that's a pretty tall task. If this thing had taken the Stealth Rock damage, it would have been at 75%, putting it in guaranteed range to die to an Ice Shard even, if I get a high enough roll. But definitely an Ice Shard and a Quick Attack, the combination of those two. So very unfortunate that we didn't get those up earlier, and now this thing is looking like a real threat to my team. I'm going to switch out here and go into my Alan Mauler, just gauging how much it does. It does 30%, so if I can get the Healing Wish off up here, or even the Wish, I can pass it back into my Zapdos, but we get flinched, and it's not looking pretty good at this point. Mew gets a crit, that's pretty unfortunate. I could have potentially broken out and hit him up with an Ice Beam, just chipping him, putting him in range to die to Weavile, but yeah. It's not going too good this match, as now I'm just going to go out to my Weavile. I know that I can guaranteed live a Air Slash from this range of health. I do actually have a little bit of, no I don't have bulk, but I'm naturally bulky enough to take an Air Slash from this range, and I know that Ice Shard is a guaranteed to a KO on this variant of Togekiss. He's not going to risk it, he's just going to go out to his Jirachi and tank the Ice Shard right here, as I'm now going to switch back out, go into my Pinsir, as he makes the double into his Garchomp. So the reason I went to Pinsir was I felt as though he was either going to trick, he was either going to potentially like Iron Head there, which I believe my Pinsir lives, because he's a bulky Spadef variant of Jirachi, he's not like attack invested, or he was going to double out into Jirachi, into this Garchomp, which could have capitalized on my Alomomola switch in, or even my Zapdos, and set up his own rocks, which could have been absolutely crucial for this Pinsir, you know, whittling down my Weavile. So we do get that right, as now I can just quick attack and take out this huge threat to my team. I quick attack just in case he was a Scarf variant. The only sign of this Garchomp set I've seen so far is Stone Edge, which was offensive damage to my my Mew. The fact that he's Stone Edge makes me think that he could be a Scarf variant, because you know, it might be a nice Revenger to the Zapdos as well as the Pinsir, so it wasn't worth risking you know, him outspeeding me there when quick attack killed regardless. So now I'm just going to stand and get quick attack damage off on this Togekiss, revealing that he is definitely an offensive spread, doesn't have any bulk. Well, he does actually. He told me after the match he had 140 health, but at the time, like, I'm not sure about that, but at the time, you know, I felt as though that was an offensive spread, a completely offensive spread. That's what the calcs told me for 0 HP, but you know, Togs told me it was 140 HP, so I'm gonna take his word for it. As now Weavile comes in, as he makes the switch again out to his Hooper this time, as Ice Shard does a clean 34%, and he's getting worn down with the Toxic. Now, at this point, like, Weavile is my way of winning. Weavile is my way of beating the Togekiss. Jirachi can't beat my Zapdos 1v1, so if I'm in a situation where I take out this Hooper and I take out the Jirachi, I can sack, like, his Jirachi can't beat my my Alomomola or my Zapdos, and I can always pass wishes to my Zapdos, so he needs to keep Togekiss around. Togekiss is his way of winning, essentially, and I need to keep Weavile around. That's as far as he knows, like, that's my win condition. So I predict him to make the play of attacking my Alomomola, which would be a decent switch in at this point. I could always sack Alomomola, come back in with Weavile, knock off, and then sack, and then put myself in a position where I'm up against the Togekiss once more. But even if that was the case, he's likely to come out on top in that position because he is a Choice Scarf variant, and he can just flinch down my mons. And I've been put in a situation where, due to those flinches, I really now have to play aggressively with Weavile. I have to, you know, I have to take a risk right here, and that is exactly what I do. I stay and impress Ice Shard. If he is any variant other than like a banded hyperspace variant, no other dark type move can actually take Weavile out at this range. So he's either going to click like Fire Punch or Drain Punch. But if I go into Alomomola, I can pivot to Zapdos, potentially get a power with Zapdos, heal up with Regenerator. It's in his best interest to not let Alomomola come in for free, in my opinion. So, you know, sacking off Weavile here would be stupid from his perspective. So I do predict him to go for the Dark Pulse, and I just stand and go for the Banded Ice Shard, as he does go for the Dark Pulse. So that's a big one. It only does 29% too. So maybe he was like a bulkier Hooper. I'm not too sure. Also, part of the other reason why I stayed in there was if he was like a Trick Room variant of Hooper and I switched out to my Alomomola, I just lost at that point, because if he was like a Trick Room, like a max HP, the Ice Shard damage revealed that he was invested in health. So if he was like a Trick Room variant with like an E-Belt, or even like a Life Orb variant with T-Bolt and something like Drain Punch, he won the game at that point. That was not something I could allow to happen. I didn't want my season to go out like that, so we do get that play right, and he just brings in his Togekiss here, thinking he can live an Ice Shard, but I actually get the roll was I believe it was 61 to 72. I get 64% off, which is it's like a low roll. It's like a low. It's not quite mid. It's between low and mid. So I guess you could say that's justice for the flinches and the Sharpedoes drops, I suppose. But we do get the roll on the Togekiss, and in comes Jirachi, and at this point Jirachi can't beat the remaining 3 mods on my team because I know he is slower than my Weavile, so my play 100% there is to just switch out, preserve my banded Weavile to knock off to finish up the game. But I did want my Zapdos to come in here and just get the final kill, as this was my check to Jirachi, and I wanted to kind of go out with a kill in this match, so I'm just going to fire off a couple of T-bolts, and that is going to be the game against Togevoir. So very good game against Togevoir. Once again, I don't hold like the flinch, the Scarf Togekiss set against him at all. Like we spoke about it after the match. I probably would have done the same thing in his position, because this was it's make or break at this point. Like this was his chance to get to finals, and he built his team very well to support Scarf Togekiss. Like the Will-O-Wisp on Rotom, the Toxic on Jirachi. He was actually a Sharpedoes Jirachi set with Toxic Trick, which would have really hindered my Zapdos' ability to check the Togekiss. And Scarf Togekiss with Air Slash does flinch down my team. There's nothing you can do against a flinching Togekiss. Scarf, like it 60% of the time it's going to flinch. So my team has a very hard time checking that when my Zapdos is weakened like that. And although I did have Healing Wish and Alomola, you guys saw I couldn't get it off because of the flinching. So I do definitely understand the bring on his part. Definitely no hard feelings there. So good game, Toge. I really did enjoy playing you, even though it was our 3rd time playing. It was definitely our closest match yet, so definitely a hype match. I'm glad that we had a really solid one to go out on the season with. So we are now officially into the grand final now, up against my opponent. I'm not going to say who it is in case you guys are watching before you've seen the other semi-finals match. I don't want to spoil the result of that in case this goes up before then, or you guys just want to wait for that, which I totally understand, because every NPL player deserves to have their videos watched. It's both sides of the commentary, and by all means go and watch Togevoir's side, because I don't know when it's going to be going up, but I definitely recommend you go and see it from his side, because his perspective is going to be really interesting as well. And yeah, guys, I hope you guys definitely enjoyed. I know it was a very hype match for me, and I'm looking forward to the finals. Hopefully we can take the season home with an undefeated record. We'll see how it goes, but either way, it's been a really fun season, and I've definitely enjoyed the team and the community of the NPL. So yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna wrap it up here. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like on the video and let me know what you guys thought of the team and the match in the comments. And if you guys aren't subbed to my channel and you would like to see more draft content, including the NPL finals, feel free to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.